На завершення дійсно різноманітних відзначень місяця Голодомору хочемо вам згадати про п'єсу «Licking Knives» молодої письменниці українського походження Мелані Гримак, яку заохочуємо вас оглянути в Торонському Theatre Passé Murrell Backspace до 20 грудня. П'єсу вже постановлено цього літа у Стратфорді, де ми записали для вас уривки п'єси і розмову з письменницею.
I was born in the most beautiful place in the world. My family are farmers, and we lived in this little white house, all of us, all 8 of us. I am the youngest. There are 3 boys and 3 girls.
I initially wrote the play as a challenge for myself, and it's stories from my family. So it's stories about my grandmother and my grandmother's sister and her family. And I just felt like the eastern side of the war is something we very rarely talk about, and I thought that there were some really powerful stories that would get lost very soon if we didn't. If someone didn't try to connect to them.
Ukrainian. The old men in the village said it with something in their voice, as if they were calling up a ghost or a dream or their youth. They would watch the dances, the ones with flowers in our hair was the same.
And then I wound up here in beautiful Stratford with the Springworks Festival. They were looking for new Canadian plays. And that's exactly what my play is, and it's a really great opportunity to bring a Ukrainian story to other parts of Ontario. I performed it before in Toronto, where there's a strong Ukrainian community, but it's really lovely to bring it beyond that.
It is May, a Sunday, and I have just turned 14 years old. I am kneeling in church, listening to the priest chanting Slavonic. What can I say about the Germans? They took me from my parents and put me on a train with hundreds of other women. They packed us standing into cars and shipped us out into the night like cattle. We arrived at the city. We are taken to a workers' camp. Every day we report for our duties and are sent out into the great streets. I tell them that I am safe. What do you tell your parents? The truth? I tell them that the water tastes different here, and that they can't use a pump like at home, but at work, the water comes right into the houses and apartments. I tell them about what I read in the newspapers, the ones that I slip inside my dress as I empty the trash to study my German. I am at the train station. I try to see what is happening, where the hand pressing my back is pushing me to, but there are too many soldiers.
In the development of the play as a playwright, I think for me it was going through my family history and then looking at the general history of the war and being able to connect things that I hadn't connected before. The connection between the experience of Holocaust survivors, the work camps, the Ostarbeiter program in Germany.
The soldier, the checklist, looks at me up and down. He looks like a rodent. Everyone is looking at me, this woman, and I see of men. We line up and begin walking all tied together. I feel like a goat tied to a bunch of other goats so I don't get lost. Goats are idiots. There is a sea of human bodies lying on these thin little blankets. Sometimes I hear whispers, but the soldiers are pacing the rows of bodies, snapping and snarling and kicking. It is the longest night of my life. I don't sleep. I hover in the mist.
There are a lot of things that we're familiar with, I think as Ukrainians. I'm a second-generation Ukrainian, so it's something that is very much a part of my upbringing, the Holodomor, for example. But not a lot of people know about that, and I think connecting those dots, that I think we very much connect the Holocaust to the Jewish Holocaust, but I think that there are more stories there, and I think that in watching the play, that's a really big moment when you realize that this thing that we see as something very specific actually affected a huge number of people in similar and different ways, and I think that that's a really cool thing that I get to do.
I could hear when things changed, and they were losing. And on those days, I would be extra good, because they would beat you for working too slowly, or coughing too much, or looking just put my head down and that worked. My father was always right. He would help me. I could hear my mother's voice telling me to make them happy whatever it took, because if they were happy today, I might be alive tomorrow. Everything outside is destroyed. The guard barracks are on fire. I can smell death all around. It is in the air, in my hair, in my clothes. I remember the cool dark of the wood, my father's strong, leathery hand, and my mama's hair. I can be who you want me to be, which is also who I want to be. I want to forget. I want to be this woman.
Повідомляємо, що вистава Licking Knives відбудеться в Торонто в Theatre Passamural Backspace з 9 по 20 грудня. Вартість квитків $25. Квитки можете придбати за телефоном 416 504 75 29.